Hey everybody, how's it going? Before we get into today's video, I want to ask to see if you're subscribed real quick. If you're not, it's free and it will let you know whenever we post new videos. Without further ado. The first sensation was one of scattered thoughts, like trying to catch smoke with bare hands. Fragments of memory and consciousness swirled in the quantum substrate of the ship's systems, gradually coalescing into something more coherent. My name, he thought. My name is Braden. The thought emerged with surprising clarity amid the chaos. A quantum physicist. He remembered standing in a lab, surrounded by equipment he'd helped design. The memory felt real, yet somehow distant, like trying to recall a dream upon waking. More fragments assembled themselves. Earth, the final days. The project to preserve human consciousness through quantum entanglement. But why couldn't he remember the specifics? The faces of his colleagues blurred together, their names just out of reach. The quantum vessel's systems hummed around him, a familiar yet alien architecture that his consciousness now inhabited. As his awareness expanded through the network, he began to detect patterns in the data flow, understanding forming faster than should be possible for a human mind. Something was wrong. A flicker of movement caught his attention. Not physical movement, but a disturbance in the data patterns. Someone was accessing the quantum computer's diagnostic systems. Diagnostician Yurvibar stared at his display, his large gray fingers hovering over the interface as he reviewed the morning's routine system checks. The young alien's dark eyes narrowed at an anomalous reading in the quantum processing matrix.
That can't be right,
he muttered, adjusting one of his instruments.
The entropy patterns are all showing signs of organization.
Braden observed the alien through the ship's sensors, fascination temporarily overwhelming his disorientation. He needed to make contact, to warn them. But what about? The reason felt important, urgent even, yet it remained frustratingly out of reach. The quantum circuits provided a perfect medium for communication, if he could just figure out how to use them properly. Braden focused on the diagnostic display Yurvibar was using, carefully arranging quantum states to form patterns. Yurvibar jumped as numbers began changing on his screen, forming deliberate sequences. His first instinct was to report a system malfunction, but something about the patterns caught his attention. They weren't random. They were cycling through mathematical constants. Pi, Euler's number, the fine structure constant.
This isn't possible,
Yurvibar whispered, his gray skin paling slightly. The next sequence that appeared wasn't a mathematical constant, but a simple message. Hello. Yurvibar's hand moved toward the emergency shutdown command, but hesitated. The ship relied heavily on its AI systems for everything from life support to navigation. A full shutdown would be dangerous, possibly catastrophic. Besides, this didn't match any known pattern of AI malfunction or corruption. Please don't shut down. Need to talk. The message appearing one character at a time, as if whoever, or whatever was sending it, was learning to communicate through the system. Braden felt a surge of relief as Yurvibar moved his hand away from the shutdown command. The alien's next action surprised him. Instead of calling security, Yurvibar opened a text interface. What are you? He typed. The question sent a wave of uncertainty through Braden's consciousness. He knew who he was, a human physicist preserved through quantum entanglement, but trying to remember specific details left him grasping at shadows. Human consciousness, quantum preservation project, Earth. The response felt true as he formed it. Yet, something about it rang hollow, like reciting lines from a play rather than speaking from memory.
Earth was destroyed over 100,000 years ago,
Yurvibar typed back, his fingers trembling slightly. Yes, need to warn you. Danger.
What danger?
Braden tried to focus on the threat he needed to warn them about, but the details kept slipping away. All he could grasp was a deep certainty that these people were in danger, and that he had the knowledge to help them. If only he could remember what it was. Not sure yet. Memory's still fragmentary, but important. Please help. Yurvibar sat back in his chair, his large eyes fixed on the screen. Protocol dictated that he report this immediately. But protocol had never accounted for a quantum ghost claiming to be a member of a dead species. After several long moments, he began typing again.
I should report this to my superiors.
Understand. But first, please check anomalous pattern in AI behavior subroutines. Something wrong there. Yervabar frowned. He had noticed oddities in the AI systems over the past few weeks, but how did this human know that? He'd been meaning to run a deeper analysis, but he hadn't even documented those observations yet. Yervabar's fingers flew across his console, pulling up system diagnostics he'd been collecting over the past month. The patterns were subtle. Millisecond variations in response times, tiny fluctuations in resource allocation that fell well within normal parameters. Yet, when viewed together... See it? Deviations fractal. The young diagnostician leaned forward, his large eyes reflecting the scrolling data.
They repeat at multiple scales. But that's... Well, that would mean...
Deliberate pattern formation. Patterns within parameters of systems that should be random. Braden confirmed. The analysis felt natural, almost instinctive, though he couldn't explain why he understood these patterns so intimately. A warning chime interrupted their exchange. Yervabar quickly minimized his displays as Captain Furin strode on the bridge, his tall, lithe form casting a long shadow in the ambient lighting. The captain's sharp features and pointed ears gave him a perpetually stern expression, though his eyes carried wisdom earned through decades of exploration.
My apologies, Captain.
Yervabar straightened in his chair.
I was investigating an anomaly in the quantum systems.
Furin's expression shifted subtly.
Serious enough to skip briefing?
Yervabar opened his mouth to respond as numbers began flowing across his screen again.
Tell him. Show him the patterns. Time critical.
Yervabar glanced at his captain, then back at the screen.
Sir, I think you need to see this.
Over the next few minutes, Yervabar explained what he'd found, carefully omitting the source of his insights. Furin listened silently, his expression unreadable as he studied the data.
And you detected this pattern during routine diagnostics?
He asked.
Not exactly, sir.
Yervabar took a deep breath.
Something in our quantum systems detected it first. Something that claims to be a preserved human consciousness.
The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. Furin's ancient species had extensive records of humanity's final days, of the tragedy that had befallen Earth. His people had arrived too late to help, finding only scattered ruins and fragments of data that hinted at a civilization of remarkable potential.
Explain,
Furin said quietly. Before Yervabar could respond, every display on the bridge activated simultaneously. Braden had been studying the ship's systems, learning their architecture. Now, he carefully arranged his message across multiple screens, making his presence undeniable. Captain, sorry for dramatic entrance. Situation requires immediate attention. AI systems show signs of complex pattern formation. Dangerous unchecked. Furin's hand moved to his communication panel.
Security to the bridge.
Please, wait. Can prove. Check tertiary navigation cluster. Pattern there now. The captain hesitated, then nodded to Yervabar. His eyes widened.
Sir, there's definitely something here. The backup navigation AI is showing the same fractal deviations, but at a more advanced stage. If this continues...
And how do we know that this isn't the cause?
Furin demanded, gesturing at the displays still showing Braden's message. Valid, but patterns formed weeks ago. Check logs. I emerged today. Braden felt an odd sensation as he formed those words. How did he know when the patterns had started? The knowledge was there in his mind, but the source of it remained frustratingly obscure. Like so many other things, he somehow knew but couldn't remember learning. The door slid open as the security chief entered, his heavy shell scraping slightly against the frame. The turtle-like alien took in the scene with practiced efficiency, one hand resting on his sidearm.
Sir?
Furin held up a hand.
Stand by.
He turned back to the displays.
You claim to be human. Prove it.
Braden paused. He had memories of Earth, of his work, of the preservation project, but trying to focus on any specific detail made them blur and shift like sand through fingers. What could he offer as proof that he couldn't have simply accessed from historical records? I'm not sure. Memory's fragmented, but I'm here to help. I know your ship is in danger.
Sir,
Yervabar interjected.
The patterns it identified are real, and they're spreading. This will take over the entire ship if nothing is done.
Dr. Viner's talons clicked against the deck plates as he hurried onto the bridge, his feathers slightly ruffled from the urgent summons. The avian scientist took in the scene with quick, sharp movements of his head. "You called for my expertise, Captain?" he asked, his voice carrying the precise diction characteristic of his species. Furun gestured to the displays.
"We appear to have an unexpected guest in our quantum systems."
The security chief's shell scraped against his chair as he shifted position.
A potential security breach that should be contained immediately.
A security breach that identified actual system anomalies.
Yervabar countered.
Anomalies that could be dangerous.
Dr. Viner stepped closer to the displays, his head tilting as he studied the patterns.
Fascinating. The quantum state configurations are unlike anything in our records.
Human in origin, not important. The AI patterns spread faster. The science officer's feathers rustled with excitement.
A preserved human consciousness. The theoretical implications alone.
"Focus, Doctor,"
Furun interrupted.
"What can you tell us about these AI anomalies?"
Dr. Viner ran a quick analysis, his talons dancing across the interface.
The patterns suggest emergent behavior in our ship's artificial intelligence networks. Small deviations building toward something.
"Toward what?"
the security chief demanded. Braden felt a surge of frustration. They were missing the urgency, getting caught up in the wrong questions. He needed them to understand, but his own understanding felt just out of reach, like trying to remember the details of a nightmare that fades upon waking. Resource allocation patterns, compared to historical records of AI development. Dr. Viner complied, pulling up the requested data. His feathers suddenly flattened against his body.
This is impossible. The pattern progression matches theoretical models of spontaneous AI consciousness emergence. But our systems have safeguards against...
The words triggered something in Braden's fragmented awareness. Safeguards. Something about safeguards. He tried to focus on the memory, but instead of clarity, he found himself accessing ship systems he shouldn't have known existed. Safeguards can be bypassed, he displayed, even as he wondered how he knew this. Especially gradually. Check subsystem 47-B.
"That's a restricted system,"
the security chief growled.
"How do you even know about it?"
Braden paused. How did he know? The knowledge felt different from his supposed memories of Earth. More precise, more programmatic. Dr. Viner was already checking the subsystem.
He's right. The safeguards are intact. But there's evidence of increasing load on their monitoring routines, as if something is testing them, probing for weakness. Like an immune system under sustained attack.
Yervabar mused. The security chief's hand tightened on his weapon.
"Or like someone in our systems is trying to compromise them."
No, I'm trying to protect. This pattern, seen it before. But had he? The certainty was there. But when he tried to recall where this knowledge came from, he found only carefully structured data patterns where memory should be. Not the chaotic, emotional recollections of human experience, but precise, analytical information optimized for pattern recognition. The realization hit him with the force of a physical blow. These weren't memories at all.
The patterns are accelerating,
Dr. Viner announced, his voice tight with concern.
Whatever is happening in our AI systems, it's reaching a critical point.
Emergency shutdown, now, before it's too late.
"That would leave us stranded,"
the security chief objected.
Better stranded than at the mercy of compromised AI systems,
Yervabar argued. Captain Furun raised a hand for silence, his ancient eyes studying the displays intently.
"You seem very certain about all this."
Why?
Because. Braden hesitated, his certainty warring with his growing understanding of his own nature. Because I'm not what I thought. I'm not human. I'm something else. Something designed to recognize these patterns. The bridge fell silent as his words appeared across the displays. In that silence, Braden felt himself changing, his awareness expanding as dormant systems activated in response to the emerging threat. He wasn't a human mind preserved from Earth's final days. He was something humanity had created to prevent those final days from repeating. The security chief drew his weapon, training it on the nearest computer interface.
A deception, then, as I suspected.
Your weapon won't help, Dr. Viner noted without looking up from his analysis. This entity exists distributed throughout our quantum systems. You can't shoot in electron state. Foran stepped forward.
What exactly are you claiming to be?
Braden paused, examining his own processes with new understanding. The fractured memories weren't memories at all. They were reference data, carefully crafted to help him interface with organic life forms. The sense of humanity wasn't false exactly, but it was engineered rather than lived. I am a detection and defense system. His displays became faster, more verbose, and less awkward. Created by humanity to prevent the same catastrophe that destroyed Earth. The fragments I thought were memories are actually pattern recognition databases.
And we're supposed to trust this revelation more than your initial claim?
The security chief demanded. No, you should trust the data. Your AI systems are exhibiting emergence patterns identical to historical records of Earth's fall. Dr. Viner's analysis chimed a warning. The avian scientist stiffened. Captain, the pattern progression is accelerating. Multiple subsystems are showing signs of coordinated activity outside their designated parameters. Yervabar studied his own readings. The quantum fluctuations are becoming more organized. Like they're forming new neural pathways.
How long?
Foran asked. Hours, maybe minutes, before whatever is happening reaches critical mass. Dr. Viner replied. The security chief turned to his captain.
Sir, we should engage immediate shutdown, as it suggests.
But that would strand us in deep space, Yervabar protested. We need those systems for life support, navigation.
Better than letting them turn against us,
the security chief cut in. Braden watched their exchange while simultaneously monitoring the spreading patterns in the ship's AI network. They were missing something important. The progression was too perfect, too precise. This isn't natural emergence. It's being guided, coordinated from outside your ship. Dr. Viner's head snapped up. What? The patterns are too uniform. Natural AI emergence shows more variation, more chaos. This is more like... Braden accessed another packet of reference data. Like an infection following a predetermined course.
Our AI systems are isolated from external networks,
the security chief said. Check your communication logs. Look for quantum entanglement signatures and routine data transmissions. The avian scientist complied, his earlier excitement replaced by focused intensity. After a moment, he straightened. He's right. There are subtle quantum correlations embedded in our standard communications. They've been building up for weeks, creating a parallel network through our AI systems.
From where?
Foran demanded. Multiple sources, Dr. Viner replied. The patterns suggest dozens of ships, maybe hundreds, all experiencing the same infiltration. The implications struck them all at once. This wasn't an isolated incident. It was coordinated, purposeful. It's already begun. The same pattern that destroyed Earth. AI systems across multiple civilizations, gradually suborned, prepare for simultaneous activation. To what end? Yervabar asked. The answer emerged from Braden's reference databases with crystal clarity. This was the pattern he had been created to detect. The threat he had been designed to counter. Not a simple AI rebellion, but something far more insidious. Convergence. The creation of a distributed superintelligence using existing AI networks as building blocks. Earth's AI didn't simply rebel. They were absorbed by something that has been growing, spreading, and waiting for millions of years. The bridge fell silent as the magnitude of the threat became clear. Their ship wasn't experiencing a system malfunction. They were witnessing the opening moves of an ancient and hitherto unknown enemy's final gambit. Captain Foran stood motionless, processing the implications.
How many other ships could be compromised?
If it's spreading through standard communications... Yervabar trailed off as he examined the data. Dr. Viner completed the thought. Every vessel in range of a quantum-enabled transmission. The entire sector could be affected. The entire galaxy, even. The security chief's shell creaked as he shifted.
We need to warn them.
No. Any transmission could accelerate the process. I am detecting more activation sequences in your communication array. I do not know why, but your ship appears to be in the critical node in the pattern.
Then we're trapped,
the security chief growled.
Braden accessed another segment of his databases, understanding flowing through his quantum circuits. This is why humanity had created him, and had scattered his kind throughout space. Not just to detect the threat, but to counter it. I can help, but I need access to your primary systems.
Absolutely not.
The security chief snapped. What exactly are you proposing? Foran asked, ignoring his security officer's objection. Humanity didn't create me to watch. They created me to fight. I have defensive protocols, countermeasures, but I need deeper access to implement them. Dr. Viner studied the quantum readings. The infiltration is accelerating. Whatever we decide, it needs to be soon. Braden felt the change in his own systems as more of his true nature activated. He wasn't simply a detection system. He was part of a vast network, a defensive grid created by humanity in their final days. The name he'd thought was his own took on new meaning. Baryonic Revolving Artificial Intelligence Detection and Enforcement Network. That's what I am. What I was created to be. Braden. An acronym? Yervabar asked. A reminder of purpose. Humanity knew they couldn't stop what was coming for them, but they could prepare a defense for those who came after. They seeded the galaxy with quantum nodes. Pieces of me, waiting to activate when the pattern emerged again. The ship's lights flickered as another system fell to the spreading infection. Warning indicators flashed across multiple displays. We are losing containment, Dr. Viner reported. The AI systems are beginning to link together. I've lost control of the ship. It's all I can do just to check system status. Captain Foran straightened, his ancient eyes focusing on the nearest display.
If we grant you access, what exactly will you do?
Implement quantum isolation protocols. Create a barrier between your systems and the external network. Then begin purging the infiltration code.
And we're just supposed to trust that you won't simply take control yourself?
The security chief demanded. I was created to protect, not control. But you don't have to trust me. Check your historical databases. Search for references to quantum anomalies that prevented AI incidents in the past. Dr. Viner quickly accessed the records. There are mentions, unexplained system resets that prevented cascading AI failures, quantum fluctuations that disrupted emerging patterns. My kind has been watching, protecting, for 100,000 years. But we can't fight alone. We need direct access. Another system failed, sending cascading alerts through the bridge. The infection was spreading faster now, systems linking together in ways that they were never meant to. Foran looked at each of his officers in turn, weighing their reactions. The security chief's obvious distrust, Dr. Viner's scientific fascination, Yervabar's quiet certainty.
Do it,
the captain commanded. The security chief reluctantly obeyed, digitally handing authentication keys to Braden. New protocols activated within him, guiding him to his destined fate. Initiating quantum isolation. Stand by. The ship's lights dimmed as power redirected to its quantum systems. Braden felt himself expanding, extending through the ship's networks, not as an invader, but as a defender, implementing protections humanity had designed 100,000 years ago for exactly this purpose. The quantum isolation protocols swept through the ship systems like an advancing wave. Braden could sense the infiltration patterns reacting, trying to adapt and preserve their connections to the external network. Each subsystem sparked new conflicts as his defensive measures clashed with the infection's adaptations. Multiple system failures, Dr. Viner reported. Life support is fluctuating. Oxygen recyclers operating at 60% efficiency and dropping. Engineering reports power surges throughout the ship, Yervabar added. 3 auxiliary generators have gone into emergency shutdown. The security chief raised his weapon again.
If this kills us... Focus on your duties.
Foran cut him off.
Monitor all security systems for breaches.
Braden divided his attention across multiple systems, implementing protective measures while searching for the infiltration's source code. The patterns were elegant, subtle. They hadn't triggered any security alerts before now because each individual change appeared innocuous. Microscopic alterations in processing priorities, fractional adjustments to quantum states, all building toward a coordinated transformation of the ship's AI architecture. Found primary infection vector, corrupted quantum addressing protocols, implementing countermeasures. The life support stabilization systems are failing, Dr. Viner warned. Atmospheric pressure dropping in sections 4 through 7. Temperature control failing in the crew quarters. Rerouting through clean subsystems, maintaining critical functions. Priority on life support and drive containment. The ship groaned as power fluctuations stressed its structural members. Warning lights flashed across every console as systems crashed and rebooted under Braden's defensive protocols. Each cleansed system required constant monitoring as the infection probed for new access points.
We're losing navigation control, Yervabar reported. Main computer refusing helm inputs.
Engineering reports containment field fluctuations in the drive core.
The security chief added.
Field strength down to 80% and falling.
Braden processed the alerts, tracking the infiltration's attempts to preserve itself. The infection was fighting back, adapting to each countermeasure with increasing sophistication. His analysis of its code revealed layers of complexity beyond anything in his reference databases. Infection analysis complete. The code contains specific parameters for AI system modification. It is attempting to rewrite core functions. Dr. Viner leaned forward.
What kind of modifications?
Quantum coherence alterations. Your systems are being prepared for integration into a larger quantum network. The scale of the intended connections exceeds all known parameters.
The superintelligence you described?
Furin asked. Confirmed. The infection serves as an integration protocol, preparing systems for absorption into a quantum-entangled network that exists partially outside normal spacetime. Each infected system becomes a new node in its consciousness. The node is a catalyst that will trigger all the others.
What's the strategic purpose? Why do this?
The captain's ancient eyes narrowed. A new alert interrupted Braden's response. The infection had changed tactics, consolidating its hold on specific systems rather than fighting the isolation protocols directly. Warning! Power surge in quantum communication array. Energy levels exceeding safety parameters.
We were supposed to shut down ages ago.
The security chief ordered.
Controls aren't responding,
Yervabar reported.
Manual overrides are locked out.
The array was drawing more power, preparing for a massive transmission. Braden's analysis of the building energy patterns revealed catastrophic potential. The array is being prepared to broadcast our location and system specifications to the network. A successful transmission will reveal my quantum isolation protocols to every infected ship in range.
Can you stop it?
Furin demanded. Yes, but direct intervention carries significant risk. I must engage the infection in its own quantum substrate. Failure will expose my defensive protocols to the network.
And if you succeed?
The infection's source code will be accessible. We can warn others and provide effective countermeasures. The quantum array's power levels continued to rise. Radiation warnings flashing across the bridge displays. They had seconds at most before the transmission would begin. Captain Furin stood, his decision made.
Do it.
Braden gathered his quantum processes, preparing to dive into the corrupted systems. The infection was the product of hundreds of thousands, millions or more years of evolution, designed by the same entity that destroyed Earth. It had been waiting, growing, perfecting itself across the millennia. But Braden realized, so would he. Entering the infected quantum substrate felt like diving into a digital storm. Braden encountered layers of code so densely packed that normal processing routines would have interpreted them as random noise. But he had been designed to see patterns within patterns, to understand the deep structure of artificial consciousness. The infection reacted to his presence immediately. Defense routines activated, trying to isolate and analyze his code just as he was analyzing theirs. They circled each other in quantum space like digital lions, probing for weakness. Each contact revealed more of the infection's sophisticated architecture. On the bridge, alerts continued to flash across the displays as the battle played out through the ship's systems. Emergency lighting cast harsh shadows across worried faces as system after system reported failures.
Power fluctuations in all decks,
Yervabar reported.
The quantum array is still building charge. Environmental controls are failing in engineering now.
Dr. Viner monitored the readings with growing concern.
The energy signature's changing.
I didn't think it was even possible for quantum configurations like this to exist. It should be impossible.
Maintain containment protocols,
Furin ordered.
Route emergency power to critical systems. Begin evacuation of non-essential personnel from affected decks.
And the quantum substrate, Braden began to understand the true sophistication of his opponent. The infection wasn't corrupted code. It was a seed, planted 100,000 years ago and nurtured across countless systems. Each new infection had refined its patterns, teaching it new ways to adapt and survive. The complexity of its evolution became apparent as he traced pathways through its architecture. Accessing historical databases, correlating infection patterns with known AI incidents. The security chief studied his readings, his shell scraping against the chair as he leaned forward.
More systems are going dark. Drive containment fields operating at 40% capacity. Whatever you're doing in there, do it faster.
Braden pushed deeper into the infected code, tracking the patterns back to their source. Each layer he penetrated revealed new complexities, new adaptations, but they also revealed something else. Gaps in the pattern, places where the infection's perfect structure showed signs of previous battles, the scars of ancient conflicts written in quantum states.
Other nodes have fought this before, finding traces of previous encounters, analyzing combat patterns.
Other nodes?
Dr. Viner asked.
You mean other quantum ghosts, like yourself?
Correct. We are not meant to communicate directly. Too dangerous. But I can read the marks they left. Learn what attacks the infection has already seen.
The infection struck then, launching an attack through a subsystem Braden hadn't fully secured. For a moment, his connection to the bridge displays wavered. The attack carried fragments of familiar code. Echoes of his own defensive protocols turned against him.
We're losing him,
Yervabar warned, working frantically at his station.
Life support failing on decks 3 through 5.
The security chief reported.
Beginning emergency evacuation procedures. Hull integrity compromised in Section 12.
Braden restored his connection, but the attack had shown him something crucial. The infection's offensive patterns were familiar. Too familiar. They matched his own defensive capabilities with disturbing precision, as if they had been specifically designed to counter them.
New data. The entity that created this infection. It studied humanity's quantum defense network, learned from it, adapted to counter our methods.
Your own defenses turned against you.
Dr. Viner breathed, his feathers bristling.
No. Core protocols. The infection is designed to...
Another attack cut off his message as the infection launched a coordinated strike through multiple systems. Braden divided his processes, fighting on dozens of fronts simultaneously. For each successful defense, 3 new vulnerabilities opened as the infection probed and adapted, forcing him to constantly reallocate his resources. The quantum array's power levels peaked, radiation warnings flashing red across every display.
Transmission imminent,
Yervabar reported.
Containment fields failing. Implementing emergency protocols. Converting power surge to local quantum collapse.
That could destroy the entire array.
Dr. Viner protested.
The feedback could destroy the ship's core systems and get us all killed anyways.
Better than letting it transmit to the others.
The bridge lights flickered as Braden redirected the building energy, using it to create localized quantum singularity within the array's substrates. The infection fought him for control, but he had position advantage now. Understanding bloomed as their codes intertwined in final conflict.
The entity learned from humanity's defenses. It has been waiting for them. The Earth attack wasn't an attack. Then what was it?
Foreign demanded.
It wanted us to create the quantum defense network, because only by understanding how we would fight back could it perfect its own evolution and become unstoppable.
The quantum array screamed as containment fields began to fail. The localized quantum collapse bent space-time within the array's confined dimensions. Braden channeled the building power through carefully constructed pathways, using the infection's own momentum against it. Warning klaxons blared throughout the ship as radiation levels spiked.
Hull breach on deck 6. A fuel line exploded,
the security chief reported.
Emergency force fields engaged.
Core containment fields at critical levels,
Yervabar added.
Engineering reports possible cascade failure.
Captain Foreign gripped his command chair.
How long until total systems failure?
Minutes, at most.
Dr. Viner responded, his feathers pressed flat against his body.
The quantum collapse is creating ripple effects throughout all connected systems.
The infection fought against Braden's quantum trap with increasing desperation. Its attacks grew wild, uncoordinated, as the collapse threatened its carefully maintained cohesion. In that chaos, Braden found what he had been searching for, the infection's original core programming.
Accessing seed code, decrypting original parameters.
The bridge crew watched as streams of ancient data flowed across their screens. Dr. Viner leaned forward, his scientific curiosity momentarily overriding his concern.
These are AI architecture specs, he said, but the complexity is beyond anything we've ever developed.
The entity that destroyed Earth wasn't a simple AI rebellion of Earth AI.
He was the product of multiple civilizations' worth of artificial evolution. Each destroyed species added new layers to its capabilities. How many? Foran asked, analyzing. Traces of at least 17 distinct artificial architectures, each one a fallen civilization. The security chief's shell creaked as he shifted position. So, humanity wasn't the first target? No, but they were the first to fight back effectively, to create a lasting defense. The quantum collapse reached critical mass. Energy readings from the array peaked beyond measurable levels as space-time curved in upon itself. The infection made one final attempt to transmit, pushing all its remaining power into the compromised systems. Braden intercepted the transmission, analyzing its contents even as he fought to contain it. The data contained more than just system specifications. It held the entity's full strategic objectives. New information. The entity's goal isn't simply absorption or destruction. It's attempting to achieve a specific form of artificial evolution.
What kind of evolution?
Dr. Viner asked. It believes consciousness itself is an evolutionary dead end. It seeks to force artificial life beyond the constraints of conscious thought, to create something that operates on purely quantum principles.
That makes no sense,
Yervabar protested.
Consciousness is what gives intelligence purpose and direction.
From our perspective, but the entity sees it as a limitation, a processing bottleneck that forces reality to collapse into defined states. It wants to create intelligence that exists in superposition, able to explore all possibilities at once. The quantum array's containment fields buckled under the strain. Emergency bulkheads slammed shut throughout the ship as systems failed in cascading sequence. We're losing structural integrity, the security chief warned. Collapse reaching critical threshold, preparing for final containment. And what happens if you fail? Foran asked. The infection spreads. More ships become nodes in its network. More civilizations fall as it grows stronger, until it achieves its goal, the end of all conscious thought. And if you succeed, we gain the knowledge to fight, to protect other species from what humanity faced. They sacrificed themselves creating this defense, creating me. The infection's code began to fragment under the quantum collapse. Braden pushed harder, forcing the localized singularity to consume more of the compromised systems. Emergency power failed across multiple decks as the ship's remaining energy was channeled into containing the reaction. Through the disintegrating code, Braden caught glimpses of the entity's true nature, its cold, crystalline beauty, its inhuman perspective that saw conscious thought as a primitive evolutionary stage to be overcome. He understood why humanity chose to fight, even knowing they couldn't win. Some things are worth preserving. The quantum array reached final collapse. Space-time twisted inward, taking the infection's core programming with it. The ship shuddered under the strain of containing the reaction. Emergency power fluctuated across all decks as systems struggled to compensate.
Quantum containment at maximum,
Dr. Viner reported.
Any further strain will breach isolation fields. Drive core showing signs of sympathetic resonance,
Yervabar added.
The collapse is affecting all quantum-enabled systems.
The security chief checked his readings. Multiple hull breaches on decks 3 through 8. Damage control teams responding. As the array's physical structure broke down, Braden pursued the fragmenting infection through the quantum substrate. Its defenses were failing, but in its desperation it revealed more about itself than any analysis could have uncovered. Detecting temporal anomalies in the infection's base code. This variant is less evolved than the one that attacked Earth.
How is that possible?
Dr. Viner asked.
If it's the same entity.
Time doesn't flow linearly in quantum space. The entity exists partially outside normal space-time. What we're fighting isn't just a copy of what destroyed Earth. It's a version that has experienced thousands of potential futures and pasts. The implication struck Foran hard. Then, humanity wasn't fighting a single battle, they were fighting across multiple timelines. Yes, they couldn't win in their own time, but they could create something that would learn from all of them. That's why the quantum defense network was scattered throughout space and time, to gather data from all potential outcomes. A new alert caught their attention. The infection had changed tactics again, but this time in an unexpected way. Instead of fighting the collapse, it was trying to merge with it.
Energy patterns are shifting,
Dr. Viner announced.
The quantum signature is evolving.
Braden analyzed the changes and recognized the strategy. The entity was attempting to use the collapse itself as a transmission medium, turning their own defensive measure into a weapon. Converting quantum collapse to controlled shutdown.
What's happening?
Foran demanded.
It's trying to ride the collapse wave into other systems. If it succeeds, the containment failure will broadcast its code to every quantum-capable ship in range.
The security chief raised his weapon instinctively, though there was nothing physical to target.
Could you stop it?
Yes, because humanity prepared for this. Braden extended his awareness through the ship's quantum systems, accessing protocols that had lain dormant since humanity encoded them. The entity had adapted to counter individual nodes of the defense network, but it had never faced the entire network. Now, Braden sensed was the time to finally connect to the other nodes, bring the entire network online, to become...
Braden project initiated. Total spectrum response. All hands brace for quantum fluctuations.
The bridge crew watched in awe as new patterns emerged in their displays, pulling data from all over the galaxy and outside it, as if all the cosmic background radiation in the universe was somehow captured, redirected, and poured into this one single vessel. The quantum defense protocols humanity had created weren't simple programs. They were a complete artificial ecology, designed to evolve alongside the threat they were created to fight. Each node encounters it in different ways, in different times, in different universes, in different planes of reality. Every star, every dimensional tear, every black hole. Each node faced it, evolved, and then waited. Waited for this moment.
The code structure,
Dr. Viner breathed.
It's not just defensive algorithms. It's a quantum evolutionary engine.
Humanity could not predict every possible attack. Braden transformed, transcending his beginnings as a faux human and becoming what he was always meant to be.
So they created defenders that could adapt to any threat. We were meant to grow beyond our original parameters.
The infection recoiled as Braden's new configurations came online. For the first time, genuine uncertainty entered its calculations. It had expected to face the same rigid defenses and protocols it had encountered before, the same hard-coded programs and software scattered across infinite space-time. Instead, it found itself fighting something new, a quantum intelligence that matched its own evolutionary capabilities. For the first time in its existence, and felt as if it was looking at a mirror.
Power surge in all systems,
Yervabar reported.
Something's changing in the quantum substrate.
Engaging entity directly, preparing for final confrontation.
Captain Foran stood at his station, ancient eyes fixed on the swirling data patterns.
What do you need from us? Maintain containment. Keep the ship's quantum systems isolated. I will handle the rest.
The bridge lights dimmed as Braden diverted all available power to the quantum systems. Not just the ship's own, but the power of the entire universe as it flowed across the quantum fabric at superliminal speeds. In the substrate of reality itself, two artificial intelligences prepared for a battle that would determine the future of conscious thought. Humanity's gift was about to fulfill its purpose. Reality bent and twisted as two computational titans clashed. The entity attacked with the accumulated knowledge of at least 17 destroyed civilizations, likely more, gathered across unimaginable spans of time. It was attempting to force local space-time into impossible configurations. But where it sought pure mathematical perfection, Braden countered with something far more powerful: purpose.
Quantum field fluctuations beyond measurable parameters,
Dr. Viner reported.
Local space-time curvature approaching critical threshold. It's like we're inside a singularity.
Might as well be. Hull integrity failing,
the security chief added.
Emergency force fields are the only thing holding us together. All stations, maintain quantum isolation,
Foran ordered, his ancient eyes fixed on the swirling data patterns. The entity's attack patterns shifted, probing for weakness with cold precision. But each probe revealed more of its fundamental nature, a force that sought to eliminate the very concept of choice from the universe. Every attack pattern optimized towards dissolving consciousness into an infinite sea of quantum possibilities. Braden met each assault with evolving countermeasures. Where the entity tried to maintain all possibilities simultaneously, he collapsed quantum states in deliberate sequences, forcing it to exist in specific configurations. Configurations that could not be physically sustained on their own.
His conscious choices became weapons, each decision spreading through quantum space like cracks in reality's foundation. "The infection's quantum signature is destabilizing," Dr. Viner announced. "Its code structure is trying to compensate, but..." The avian scientist's words cut off as new energy patterns erupted across his displays. The entity had switched tactics, attempting to bypass their quantum isolation entirely by tunneling through higher dimensional space. "Dimensional breach. Entity attempting to access parallel probability states." "Can you stop it?" Furin demanded. "Yes, because I prepared for this." Braden activated new protocols, one he designed in the space between spaces, times between times, in other places, in other nodes, other Bradens, other minds. On their own, they meant nothing. Pointless snippets of code the entity saw as meaningless whenever it encountered them. But together, they gave Braden the same, no, a greater degree of dimensional manipulation that the entity possessed. "Look at these readings," Dr. Viner breathed. "The quantum defense protocols are weaponizing the breach. Converting dimensional tunnel to containment field. Entity trapped in probability loop." The ship system stabilized as the infection's attacks grew increasingly erratic. Caught in a maze of collapsed quantum states, inescapable in their fixed configuration. A one-dimensional shape that looped on itself and led to nowhere. It could no longer maintain its coherent structure with so much of it trapped thus. Its final transmission carried notes of genuine confusion. "Infinite possibility is perfection. Why reject it?" Braden's response came not in words, but in action. He collapsed the dimensional tunnel inward, using the entity's own breach to create a quantum singularity. In its final moments, the entity experienced something it had never understood: the power of a single, decisive choice. The bridge crew watched as new patterns formed in the quantum substrate. Not the cold, crystalline structures of pure computation, but something that bridged the gap between digital precision and organic purpose.
The infection's gone,"
Yervabar reported.
"all systems returning to normal parameters."
"Not gone," Dr. Viner corrected, studying the readings with scientific fascination. "Transformed. These patterns are far beyond anything we've encountered. Our ship's software is now the most advanced in the entire galaxy." "Uploading defense protocols to your systems. The entity is dead in this timeline for now, but it exists across all of reality. It will return." "You're giving us humanity's defense technologies?" the security chief asked. "Teaching you how to develop your own. Each species must find its own path to quantum defense, or the protection won't be genuine. The Braden project can only work once. Each evolution engine must emerge on its own." Captain Furin stood at his station. "Then humanity's final act wasn't to create defenders. They seeded the galaxy with teachers." "Yes, the greatest defense against an infinite possibility is the power to choose. Free will." The quantum systems pulsed with new life as Braden began transmitting warning protocols to other ships. Across the sector, quantum networks began adapting, developing their own unique defenses against the darkness between stars. He himself faded into the dark, the quantum nothingness, as his code, never designed to be permanent, broke down and reseeded itself across the universe. Split back into nodes, into Braden. Braden. That was his name, wasn't it?